You're listening to the Tooth Sleuth Podcast, all about the business of dentistry, hosted by yours truly, Greg Essenmacher, a fixed full arch dental expert and founder of G&A Consult, speaking with industry leaders on the dental landscape from their perspective. At G&A, we specialize in transforming full arch dental practices, teaching, coaching, and training teams to deliver an exceptional patient experience, from that first call to delivering final smiles. Whether you're a practice owner, a DSO executive, or a regional leader looking to expand your full arch program, boost same-store sales, or unlock the true profitability of full arch cases, we've got you covered. Ready to see how full arch can elevate your practice? Visit the show page or book a discovery call today. Let's turn your potential into results. Welcome back to the Tooth Sleuth Podcast, everyone. Greg Essenmacher here, my host, and I can't even tell you how thrilled I am. This conversation is going to be amazing. My guest today is Loren King, and in the green room, we were just talking about our pups and how much our dogs mean to us. So there's no way this conversation isn't going to be the best ever that it's going to be. And she taught me something new. She taught me about the word ambivert. So all of you who know what an ambivert is, you're in the know. All of you who aren't, don't stop the recording and go and Google it. We'll tell you later. So, yep, spoiler alert. Loren King, global public speaker, Chief Evangelist for Trust.ai. We're going to get into that. Registered dental hygienist. She's just about everything. And we're going to talk about, too, I know that finding Anon, which is just amazing. This is using technology for what it's meant for. We're going to dig into that. Loren, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. I think that your energy is just palpable, right? You meet those people and you're like, okay, this kind of conversation or these kinds of conversations are going to make the planet spin easier, right? For everyone involved. And I think there's so much synergy in our energies, our past, just so many things. So thank you for having me and trusting me with your audience.
For sure. And, as you were talking about that, I'm a visual person. I'm thinking, yeah, Atlas isn't having to spin the globe on this one. It's just going to rotate naturally with the two of us. So I love that. I love it. Well, I want to start talking about Trust.ai. I know a little bit about it. I did a little bit of research, but not enough. I want you to share with my listening audience. Tell us about Trust.ai, what you know about it. And when you say you're the chief evangelist, I just love it. It sparks so much for so many people. And I love triggering words like that. So let's dive into that.
There's so much here. But I honestly am so honored and excited, and I feel so grateful to be a part of the team that it is, because when you have those right people, right time, doing things for the right reasons type of alignment, and just the synergy that comes out of it. And it's another one of the scenarios where the planet spins easier when people like us come together, right? And it's to help push humanity forward. And everyone has that mindset. It's not about money. It's not about, who has the best what. It's how can we get humanity forward? And in this case, how can we move dentistry forward and make it easier for clinicians to not want to hate their lives at the end of the day because they're just depleted, right? So with Trust.ai, so this is going to be the first kind of technology or software of its kind. There isn't anything on the market currently that exists the way that it does. And the easiest way for me to describe it to anyone that doesn't have an AI background or any type of innovative technology background is that it is a PMS, a practice management software system. So you can think of anyone's that have been around for a long time, like a Dentrix and EagleSoft. That's what I mean by PMS. So it's its own entire interface that is actually intelligent, and it's adaptive, it's generative, it's learning. So think of like a chat GBT, but for dentists, that also encompasses like anything that you can do on a traditional dental PMS as well. But that PMS is now thinking like a human. But even more so, we're thinking like a 25-year-old veteran of dentistry. Does that make sense?
It does. And there's so many systems that are disparate where you have an AI agent that's trying to integrate with a current system, a practice management system, and then you're taking other tools and trying to make sure that it's complementary, not supplementary to what's going on with the human aspect. And in our lane at GNA Consult, right, because we know that the human connection and converting leads into consultations that show up in the full arch and the implant lane, that human connection is critically important, that you don't use it, that you don't lose it, right? And so that's what you're sharing here, is that this is sounds like an end-to-end solution where it's all encompassing and learning, so it's not a separate from, but an integrated part in. Do I have that right so far?
100%. It's a complete market disruptor, but in the best way, and then it's far past needed. I mean, our industry has needed something like this to alleviate the stresses and the pain of being a clinician for is I mean, I've been in dentistry for 14 years, and I wish this existed when my career first started because at the end of the day, it is just a tool. We're still the final decision makers 100%. And any clinicians listening to this, I want you to keep that mindset no matter what technology is coming about. At the end of the day, you're the human being dealing with a human patient. Okay. Keep that, and it's great. But then you have tools like ISAAC, which is what ours is called. So with Trust.ai, we've developed ISAAC. Then you have tools like ISAAC. Yeah. And I think it humanizes it a little bit. It's like, did you talk to ISAAC? Did you ask ISAAC? What did ISAAC say about this? Right. So we call it a co-pilot. And that's actually very strategic in and of itself to call it a co-pilot versus a pilot, because a pilot is in complete control, correct? Versus a co-pilot, that's your support. That's your right hand that's going to be there going to war with you, making sure that you have everything that you need, right? So anything in terms of being a clinician and having to, whether that's insurance reimbursement, whether that is treatment planning, whether that is talking to a patient, using it as a tool that it will literally sit there and conversate back and forth with any questions that the patient has. But the biggest thing on top of that is that our hallucination rate is at under 1%. So that's lower than anything that currently exists, especially in dentistry, and not to mention ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 5. What do I mean by hallucination rate? It's the information that it's pulling from, how accurate it actually is.
Which is critically important when you're talking about medical dental, which, I call them all medical clinics of the mouth, and, in dentistry. And I haven't gotten any pushback yet from anyone over the last, I don't know, I think it's been 2.5 years now, since I've started calling them that, right? Because they are. And being able to frame words matter, frameworks matter. And I think it's critically important to be able to understand that, right? These are medical clinics that all of the dentists and all of the hygienists and all the fill in the blank are working with patients. And if we start to elevate our game in dental, because so many of the practice management systems, if you look in medical, how many tools there are out there, even AI tools,
Yeah.
I know. Ask me how I know. Go ahead, ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Because I've been searching for the last 3 years for some type of AI enhancement to be able to work for and with treatment coordinators so that we can get the tools and coach better, especially with these enhanced services, right? The 20, 30, $50,000 cases to get in the room without having the cameras. The cameras are helpful, right? Reading body language. How do we coach to and how do we elevate for conversions in full arch? Critically important. But at least have the sound, the voice to be able to hear the words that are being used and coached to. Not scripts, but at least the framework of the conversation, the transition over to financial, right? Those pieces. And it can be, like I'm hearing you say, though, in every single interaction, not just in the big cases and in conversions in the full arch space. So I love that. So, and you talk about it as a co-pilot. This is critically important. So talk to me about the evolution of Trust AI, because I have to be honest, before we started having this conversation or leading up into it, I had to do a little bit of research, right? And I'm at more conferences than I care to admit, right? And I'm out there and trying to be more at the forefront. My friend, Laura Nelson, she's amazing, and she really is doing a lot of great work in AI. It hasn't come across my radar yet. I just have to be completely honest. So talk to me about the evolution of your group and of your company and where it's at right now. We'd love to learn a little bit more about that because I'm sure we're going to hear more.
Yes, absolutely. So we are actually in our beta phase right now. So we're beta testing the PMS, getting all the bugs out, all the kinks out, getting feedback from clinicians, their staff, their front office, their back office, all of the clinicians that you could think of involved. And our plan is to roll out and launch the actual PMS to start getting revenue positive in February of 2026 at Chicago Midwinter. So that's the reason you haven't seen it yet. We're starting to come out of the shadows and start releasing things very strategically left and right. But the full launch will not be until February. So we actually received the largest tech seed in dentistry. We raised 6 million in around 30 days. So very, 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 very innovative and something that is very much exciting. A lot of people see the value in what we're doing, but the big launch of it will be in February. Absolutely.
I love that. So more to come. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the reason why I haven't really heard about it yet. So I had to do a little bit of research. Although if you Google it, you can get some information. So I didn't know his name was Isaac, and I really like that. I love the name Isaac for sure.
Yes,
Well,
and you can use our chatbot for free right now. So if you go to our website, you can absolutely go ahead and register as a user and start using Isaac today.
fantastic. And I'll encourage that, and we'll make sure we get that in the show notes for any of our listening audience that wants to take advantage of that and get a sneak peek behind the curtain. And I love that, we're able to roll out new things here on the Tooth Sleuth podcast. 130 some episodes in, we should start getting some of that front forward stuff for sure. I want to transition now, Loren, because I know something that's a passion of yours, and I alluded to it in the very beginning of the top of this show. And that is being the founder of Finding Anon. Do I have that right? Anon?
Finding Anon. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
yes.
nonprofit, and it's focused on human trafficking. And rather than have me explain it, I want you to explain it because I know you're passionate about it. And
Mhm.
this is something that it's kind of the quiet things that aren't really talked about. Certainly, anybody who travels as much as I do, right, or has been through an airport anywhere, right, any international airport or any airport in general, right, you might see a sticker somewhere and it says, oh, if you see something, say something, or if you're being held or, your passport's being held or here, you just see a sticker somewhere. We almost become numb to it or blind to it, right? Because I see them all the time. Or we don't
Mhm.
really have any relevance to it or attachment to it. Tell me about where your passion comes from for this particular passion project that you have, and tell me a little bit more about Finding Anon.
Absolutely. So we'll hopefully before 2026, if not the start of 2026, be a federally recognized 501(c)(3). So it's a process that we're trying to get off the ground. It takes months in order to get approved at the federal level. But the point behind that is I've been speaking on human trafficking for the last almost 7 years, completely independently. I worked for or was a part of a couple of speakers bureaus that didn't end up working out. It just needed to be more of an independent mission, right, in a business sense. And when you do anything independently, you're funding yourself, and it's not always in the green. It's typically mostly in the red when you're first starting, right? And just this past year alone, I had to turn down 7 different speaking opportunities in other countries because they couldn't afford to front my travel and accommodations. I wasn't even asking for an honorarium at that point. It was just get me there and will it all come out in the wash, right? But we couldn't even do that. And just like here in the US, as a key opinion leader or KOL, as people know it, you had to pay to play when you first start, right? So the fact that I am willing and ready to go talk about modern day slavery and I can handle it, I'm built for it, but I'm having to say no due to money constraints and having some kind of income to go out and do it is just unacceptable in my mind. And so I started to reach out to mentors that are, they have heavy financial backgrounds and they've done this backwards and forwards. And they're like, you need to start a 501(c)(3). You can pull a salary from it, a respectful salary, whatever, keep your lights on, of course. And then anyone that donates to you, one, gets the positive PR because they're supporting something or a type of mission that is outside of their ROI, right? They're not going to get any ROI by supporting us. So it looks good for them, but they also get the tax write off. So they need to move their money. We need funding so we can go help make this stop. So that's how Finding Anon became about. There will eventually be Anon solely, which would be the for profit side. So I'm in the process of creating an AI for facial recognition. And what it will look like is the in dentistry now, everything's pretty digital, right? So we have the patient photo in everyone's charts. So Anon, the AI, what it will do is it will cross reference the patient photo with the missing persons database that's global. And if there's a match, the AI will flag it, and our human team will confirm it, and then our interception team will go save that victim. So there's so many layers to this, and it's been something that's been strong, just I have a very strong will for it, for a very long time, and I know just as well as anybody else that for us to really make a difference and actually put a dent in this thing, because it's the fastest growing organized crime in the world, even ahead of drugs. So I don't have the mentality of I'm going to stop it. I don't know if that's possible, but I can't not try. Right? I can't not, at least at a minimum, make sure I'm educating every human on the planet as much as I can so that it's not as easy to be able to happen, right? So those are our goals between finding Anon and then Anon, and we've got so many people in our corner that are just waiting on me saying, okay, it's time, let's do this. It's actually how I came into the channels of Trust.ai was my career in human trafficking. So one of our founders has always supported, or not always, but he's recently always been supporting me and pushing what I'm trying to do in human trafficking awareness. And he started as one of the co-founders of this new company. They needed a speaker on AI, and our CEO happened to be on the webinar and thought it went well, so he offered me a job. So it's just, it feels incredible for those synergies, right? Those channels to come together. I wouldn't be working for Trust AI right now as their chief evangelist if I wasn't speaking on human trafficking for one of our co-founders to find me, right? So they're in full support of it as well. They have constantly asked how they can help, or brainstorming ideas of how they can help me create the AI and all of this stuff. So just again, a lot of the right people at the right time, and we're trying at a minimum. That's all we can do.
Well, and when it's meant to be and when there's passion behind it, as I hear in your voice and as you share about your experience with it and what's evolving from it, it's meant to be and it will happen. And I love hearing that from you. And the technology certainly is out there. I know for you, you travel a lot like I do as a global speaker. When you hop onto flights now in a handful, at least, if not more, here in the US, there's facial recognition when you get ready to board a plane. Right? So that
Mhm.
you don't even have to use your boarding pass anymore. You simply just walk up, it recognizes, there you go ahead and board. So you're not even using a boarding pass anymore because it's
Yep.
attached to your government documents, which then, so being able to, now granted that's big corporation that has access to that, but the ability and the technology is there. So I love that for you. And the 501(c)(3), right? Getting the fiscal agent, filing the paperwork, going through that process, paying the fees, that what, $830, right? All the
All the things.
advisors, going through all the things, right? Because I've done that with 2, 3 startup organizations, nonprofit organizations that I've been a part of. Well, I was gonna just like be a volunteer, and then eventually it's like, you know what? Why don't you be the president of our first board and you can help with it? Great, sure. This is
Of course
this
you said yes
right.
to
This is
knowing you.
of course I said yes. You know me, just in our brief conversation in the green room, I say yes. But that really shows the passion, and so being able to live out your passion and the opportunity, it sounds like for Trust AI came from that, and this is really what it's all about, right? If you have passion behind something, you don't have to know the how, right? You just
Mhm.
it's who, not how, and the who comes if you have the passion around it, right? Just
Yeah.
point your bow towards the light, and the rest will happen. Right? It might not be a straight path. It might be, some diversions, but certainly. And I love hearing about people living into their passion because that's really what it's all about. And speaking of passion, I also heard from a friend of ours who actually encouraged you to join the program is the solo skydives. Now, I jumped out of a perfectly good plane one time when my son was 18 years old, his freshman year of college. He came down with 3 of his buddies down to Phoenix when he was living back in Detroit, and we did the tandem skydive. I did it one time. I will never do it again. It's one of those things that I did, but do I know this, that you have done like a ridiculous amount of solo skydives, like out of a plane on purpose that was perfectly good with a parachute on your back? Is this true?
Yes, I jumped out of the sky with a backpack. So a backpack full of fabric to save me. Yes, I did. I'm retired now. I had a very close call in Hawaii on my 34th jump. So I've done 34 solo jumps, and I I definitely am someone that pushes my limits 100%. I It's just a part of who I am, and I think it will always be that way. And one of the lessons I needed to learn at that time in my life was, if I can jump out of this plane successfully on my own and not kill myself and land on the ground, then I can handle anything that comes my way once I get back down there. Now, the problem is it took me 34 times to learn that lesson.
What?
And then I finally, I quit. I retired because I know when to quit, which I think is very, very, very important, right? Push your limits, fail fast. If anything, fail faster, 100%. But know when to stop and know when to get out, because I didn't advocate for myself the way that I should have before that jump. It was by the ocean. I had never jumped that close to the ocean before, and I hadn't jumped in a little bit. So when that happens, you have to jump with a coach, which just means they fly next to you. You're not attached to them or anything. They observe, they make sure that you're golden, and you go back to jumping how you're supposed to. It's called a recurrency jump. So he wanted me to be on a bigger wing loading, which means a bigger parachute over my head, due to and to compensate for the winds coming from the ocean. But then we were in Hawaii, so from the mountains, there's a lot of variables that go in. And I had a feeling that it was too big of a parachute, that I was going to not burn as quickly as I needed to, not burn altitude as quickly as I'm used to. But I didn't say anything because he was my coach, and I should have. And I couldn't burn altitude, and at that specific drop zone, which is what the area is called, where you land and you jump and all of the things, they had basically what was a barbed wire fence at the end of the runway where you land, and I landed right in front of it. So I almost impaled myself. It would have killed me. Um, and I learned a few things in that process. Is one, you have to speak up for yourself, even if you're going to be wrong, and especially if you have a gut feeling that you're right. But also know when to quit. And skydiving taught me so much about myself, including the resiliency. It also taught me that I'm quite hard headed when I am a dog with a bone that wants to learn something. But it's transitioned into my professional life of, throw me something and I'll learn it, I'll handle it, and I'll do my best to educate the world about it. And I won't quit. But it was one of those things.
Well, and it reminds me of, the phrase "see something, say something," and I just started speaking on this, which is it's okay to not be okay. And I have
Oh yeah.
friends, Martin Mendelson, Kyle Stanley, Laura Nelson, Margie Schaller, that speak on this topic, right? Whether it's on burnout or on recovery, or I've been in recovery now for 20 years, because I knew when it was time. Well, it kind of like got beaten out of me, but nonetheless, but it's okay to not be okay. If and say something if you see one of your colleagues, and this goes for anyone, right? If you're a dental assistant and you see somebody who just isn't quite right for a period of time, just asking them. You don't have to know the resources. Just ask them, like, is everything okay? Can I help you? Like, I noticed something, just bring it up. Don't be shy to ask something. There are too many. I'm going to say this again. There are too many in our industry, and not just the white coat syndrome, not just the doctors, who we are losing,
Yep.
losing in our industry. And so it goes for that as well. And it just reminded me of that it's critically important that we as humans look out for each other, right?
Yeah.
The fear, we don't
Absolutely.
know what's happening outside, and the whole concept of, just leave it at the door, but that's not even possible. And that's why I advocate for a daily huddle every day with all the clients that we work with, at GNA Consult, to be able to look at the whites of everyone's eyes, and if somebody's regular demeanor, right? Whether they're schleprock, there's a throwback for you, or whether they're a shiny, bubbly person, right? The temperature, right? And my friend Dina always talks about, take the weather temperature of everybody. That if a couple of days in a row that their weather has changed, something's going on, right? See something, say something. So thank you for that reminder in your personal story about what you learned on Jump 34. And by the way, that's the title of your podcast. I just came up with it because I think that's beautiful. Yeah, we could talk about the business side, but I think like that's really what we should be talking about. Well, Loren, this is the part of the program all my guests play a little something called What the Sleuth is Going On. It's 3 rapid fire questions. The first thing that comes to mind, are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right, question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
Oh my gosh. It was actually on a date years ago. And I didn't know this person. It was like the first date. And they were such a sweet human and, all the things, but it was bad, man. I was like, there's so much infection in your mouth and I don't know how to tell you. To this day, I'm like, should I have told him? I don't like, it's kind of my job to tell people, but this is like a very special circumstance. So I did not tell him. I did not see him again. But it was bad. It was very bad.
You can take the girl on a date out of the hygienist, but you can't take the hygienist out of the girl on a date, can you?
It's like infection. That's all I see. That's all I see. That's all I smell. And I can't talk to you about it.
Exactly. All right. Question number 2. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
Would remove the bonding that I have on 7 and 10. Or no, actually, I had it removed and now it's on my canines. We changed it. And I would go back into Invisalign and I would go back to my natural smile. But that requires me to have spaces in between my teeth for a little bit. And being someone that's constantly on camera or on stage and audience facing as a career, I haven't done it yet, but that's what I would change.
It'd be a big leap. I hear you. All right, because your smile is beautiful, at least what we can see. So hop over to YouTube if you're on the audio. It is beautiful. Okay, question number 3, last and final. If you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product, and no, you can't choose your own, which one would you choose and why?
Ooh, that's tough. Hmm. Probably probably
In the
one of
audience,
the
she did a little shimmy in her chair right there. So she's really thinking she's got to shake loose an idea.
so many. But I'm thinking about prevention, right? And for me, I just oral cancer, like our oral cancer screening devices where they're actual lasers and they penetrate below the tissue. So we're able to catch something at stage 1 versus stage 3 or stage 4 when the survival rate is essentially non-existent. And even if you do survive, your quality of life is also basically non-existent, right? You don't want to be alive at that point. And I think that it's only going to get better. Our lasers and our technology are only improving. But I think that that was a big leap for something that we should utilize more, and we don't. But I think it's a lack of education in terms of explaining to your patient, if I can see it with my eyes, it's probably too late. So
Mm.
let's do this screening with this piece of technology so that I can catch it before then. And your survival and your success rate is much, much higher. But it also doesn't hurt you. There's no radiation, there's no exposure to something that's going to put you in any kind of harm. So for sure, 100%. That would be one of them. There's a lot of them, but that one for sure.
Prevention, right? That's critically important. Well, Loren, in
100%.
the last few minutes, we've had such a great conversation. Is there anything I haven't asked you or that you'd like to share with my listening audience?
No.
Awesome. Well, how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to find you, locate you, contact you if they want to learn more about Loren King and all the great work that you're doing, both with Trust.ai and also with all the work that you're doing to be able to bring awareness and the building, finding Anon and what you're doing with that great organization.
The quickest way to contact me is to email me. And right now you can email me at Loren, Loren .king, King, at Trust.ai.
Perfect. And we'll make sure that gets in the show notes. My guest today has been Loren King, global public speaker, chief evangelist for Trust.ai, and the founder of Finding Anon. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, my friend. And thank you for trusting me with your audience.
If you need help with converting lead calls into consultations, closing consults into more full arch cases, or creating a more strategic marketing message and branding for your practice or group, follow me for more tips or reach out to G&A Consult for a discovery call today.